Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been following Embracing the Fight since January of 2023, you will know that it is about normalizing the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. And if you have been following, but you haven't clicked like, click share, or clicked subscribe, please do. This helps the channel to grow and it helps me to get my message out. Now, with all that being said, you all see I have a very beautiful guest on the screen. I'm going to allow her this moment to introduce herself and she's going to tell you how we met.
Hi, everybody. I go by Dee. I think Erica and I met 2001 in the summertime in South Carolina. We did internships at South Carolina State. She attended South Carolina State. And so we had the joy of working together 2 summers. The second summer we were together in the same boarding house. We were workout buddies. We were intense about our fitness back then. I missed that mobility and agility that came with it.
Me too.
Just to be honest. Because I wish I had a quarter of what we had back in the day.
You too. Goodness. When we got on the call previously, she and I were kind of talking about, some things. And I was telling her, what it was like yesterday. We had a tennis tournament, this weekend. And got out there, won, the semifinal round, got in the final, but we sat for so long. It's like once you get over 40, if you sit for a long time, your muscles let you know, hey, you've been sitting too long. Because when you get back out there, you're gonna cramp up. So I was like, I wish I had that mobility like you're talking about, when we were younger.
Oh yeah, and I shared going down in the shower. There was a two pops in the back, and I just crumbled like paper. Still feeling it. I'm with the heating pad right now.
But what's interesting? My parents, are almost 80, and my mom can squat down on the floor, pick stuff up. My dad's getting on and off of his truck, and no problems. I'm like, what? And every time I ask my mom about it, she's like, that's because, this comes from good living. All right.
Hey,
So what was that?
I said, plus they were organic before organic was a thing.
That's true. That is very true because they do eat a lot of food out of the garden and they don't eat a whole lot of fast food. They drink a lot of water. So sounds like I
Yeah,
might have to get back on that home. Mm.
right.
Well, this is episode 64, Old Man's Cancer. Now, Deidre, you have to explain to us why you're calling this old man's cancer.
So 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, CML, in the acute phase. I went in for a routine physical with blood work where you got to fast the night before, So I go in and they're asking all the, your pre-screening questions at the appointment. I'm talking about family history. So, you know, I figure stuff's going to come back. I'm probably pre-diabetic and, I'm expecting a lecture about some changes I need to make.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened. So the next day, I got a call from the office.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, it's kind of upsetting that it wasn't the doctor that I met with that called me, but basically they had the receptionist call me
Really?
to let that I had an appointment the following day, and
Mm-hmm.
this is how I sugarcoat it. Um, they told me that I had an appointment with a hematologist
Okay.
person. So I'm like, okay, they're sending me to a blood specialist. I don't think nothing of it. I was like, okay, maybe my iron's low.
Mm-hmm.
They his name. They give me the name of the place where I'm going. So I hang up the phone and I Google it, and then I see his name and it says hematologist oncologist. And then I kind of get freaked out because we all know that, oncology is cancer, but, I'm still trying to be an optimist and be like, maybe it's just my iron. And,
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a few older friends, and a really good friend was like, you need to take someone to the appointment with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so offered to go, and I'm glad that she did. And so they were basically, she told me on that call that my white blood cells were critically high.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an appointment for like 3 weeks for Oregon Science Health University, but I needed to go now. And so I was going to Compass tomorrow at 10. And so my friend Linda and I went to the appointment. I was there for about 2 hours. You
Wow.
go, they take like 8 vials of blood. They give you a packet like this. It felt like you were signing mortgage paper with how many times you sign your name.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew it was serious when they actually have you meet with a financial person before you meet with the doctor. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like basically saying, like, don't make any don't make any judgments or don't make any decisions based on finances. And I'm, you're just trying to take everything in. You're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the lady's card. And then finally, I remember I met with my first oncologist. And so he looks at my blood work, and he's an Asian man. And
Mm-hmm.
he told I'm 90% sure it's CML. And he explains to me what it is. And he's like, but you got to come back for cytogenetic testing to get your diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cytogenetic testing basically is what insurance uses to like get your medication.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fortunate that I only had to do cytogenetic testing and I didn't have to do a bone marrow biopsy because I'd heard the horror stories about those.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was lots of blood work the first couple weeks. And then my first medication was to take down my white blood cell level. And then
Mm-hmm.
they put on gout medicine because as your white extra blood cells die off, it produces uric acid in your body. And then that causes gout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that for the first 2 weeks before I started my actual medication. And it's classified as a chemo drug, but it's not like the hard radiation chemo that other people associate with other cancers.
Mm-hmm.
But it still comes in like, the bag that's got the radioactive symbol on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets delivered, which cracks me up. You don't have to sign for it. They just leave it at your door. But
Wow.
so yeah, I started that on April 15th. So yeah, April 15th will be my 3-year anniversary on meds, and my cancer anniversary was on the 25th, my diagnosis day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I know that was kind of mumbly.
Yeah, so I mean, but you're doing well. You look great. All that. Not that you should look bad, when you're going through cancer or anything, but you always look great. So that's not a thing for me. But when you first found out that you had it, did you feel better at all? I know you said you were just going to get a routine physical.
Oh,
Were you tired or anything like that? Or
so I was super tired, and this was back during COVID, and
mm-hmm.
so I don't think folks were really getting seen by doctors unless you had some serious symptoms of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember just being super tired all the time. It felt like I had to get coffee even on the weekends to get going.
Oh, wow.
And then I was just bruising. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I sat on a hard surface like a I don't know, a concrete barrier outside at work, I
Mm-hmm.
would have a bruise where my weight was like or on the back of my leg where the concrete was.
Oh, wow.
Uh, I was working out at the time doing beach body at home.
Mm-hmm.
If the touched my thigh, I'd have a bruise. I remember I had a bruise from one of my pets, just the cat standing on me. I
Mm-hmm.
would for easy. And I played rugby in college, right? I never bruised.
You didn't.
No, I get mystery bruises like 3, 4 days later, like after a tournament, but I could count on one hand how many bruises I had when I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And I was like, well, maybe my iron's low. And I remember my mom kind of bruised early the older she got, or easily the older she got. So, I didn't know.
Okay.
I
So
think,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but I think one of the benefits to me was it was during COVID. It wasn't, so we were doing distance learning at school.
Mm-hmm.
So my diagnosis story, I think, looks different from a lot of other leukemia folks because I wasn't getting sick. I wasn't around people to get sick. But I do remember at that time, it felt like I had like sinus infections that just wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
But
So
that's how it.
So with all of that though, you noticed the bruising, you noticed that you were tired. What are some other symptoms that they say that, you should have experienced or most people who have CML have experienced?
Okay. So this one cracks me up. Night sweats are common, and I'm a sleeper, so sometimes I would wake up and my hairline would be damp, or like the back of my back would be damp, almost like you did a warm up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was one of the things my oncologist said. He's like, "Well, you didn't notice you were having hot flashes or night sweats?" And I said, "Sir, what woman in her 40s isn't hot at night?"
Right. Say this is a part of nature.
So he kind of laughed about that when I didn't think about it till later. My gums would bleed sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I read later that that is one of the symptoms, but I don't know. I wasn't on Google or WebMD for, every single thing. But I
Okay.
think that the best advice too, once you do get a diagnosis, get off WebMD. You will go down a dark hole. And that's what I told my mom. I said, if you're going to look up anything online, the National Cancer Institute
Mm-hmm.
or the Cancer Society, those are the only two, or the NAIH.
Yep, it's true.
But anything else, don't do it.
I did the same thing. I was looking for everything. Like, I was like, there's so many different types of cancer, so many phases I need to know. Yeah, I stopped looking at WebMD too. I started looking at cancer.org.
But it's, I mean, it's, you hear the word cancer, and I remember like my eyes just started watering in the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And, I heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Also felt like Charlie Brown, want, because you're emotionally overwhelmed, and they're,
Right.
he's telling things. But for me, where I'm fortunate, he said 20 years ago this was a death sentence, but there is medication now. And so how he explained it,
Mm-hmm.
he, like, you have a chronic condition, and he's like, diabetics have what they take, people with high blood pressure have what they take, and you're going to have your medication that, there's a strong possibility that you could be on it for the rest of your life. But he's like, you have a manageable cancer. And it sounds really weird and cruel to say, but it's like, okay, I got a good one. And it sounds awful to say that, because I know that's not everybody's
Right.
experience
Mm-hmm.
in journey. But you do still have a little bit of side effects with the medication, and everybody's different.
Okay. Other than having to take, the medication, did you have to do, any surgeries or anything like that?
No surgeries. I ended up having a hysterectomy about a year and some change ago, but even before I got that diagnosis, I knew that I had fibroids.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out it was kind of, I was really heavy, and it was just like the combination of the side effects, the CML, and the fibroids. I needed something to give because I
Mm-hmm.
was super anemic. My medication suppresses my bone marrow.
Mm-hmm.
And longest time I had less red blood cells than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so super heavy flow wasn't helping.
Okay.
And so we got to the point with my gynecologist and my regular doctor
Mm-hmm.
was the best course of action to go.
I get it. And then, we talked about it before the call, why you were calling this old man's cancer. It was because of a statistic or something that, you were sharing. Could you explain
Yeah.
that to us too?
So they say only 2% of people diagnosed with CML get it under age 60.
Oh, wow.
And 42 when I was diagnosed. So I was like, I got old man cancer.
So did they say, why it
It,
affected people over that age? Is it because of osteoporosis or anything like that? Or
nope, it's just a mutation that happens.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Do I have the book downstairs? I don't know where my book is. There's an amazing book,
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia Chromosome, and it goes into detail about CML and the development of the first generation medicine. And one of the doctors, or the main doctor. He's here in Oregon at OHSU.
Okay.
And so I ended up joining a CML group on Facebook. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how people feel about social media, but that group I think was instrumental for me because it's like I could search all my questions,
Mm-hmm.
get answers where you're not just like wondering all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And so it helped me. I know some people, it might be stressful to just
Mm-hmm.
see people posting all the time, but it was beneficial for me.
Okay. So what was your support system like? Because you're in Oregon, your sister doesn't live near you, right? And then your mom, she doesn't live near you either, right?
No, so they're in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
and then extended families back east. But I've got some really good friends here. I have a friend with breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so the day I found out, I showed up on her porch
Mm-hmm.
and I told her, and we cried together. But we take our medicine together every single night and say cheers. And her husband he passed last year of a different, but we were like our own mini cancer support group.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sharing tips, what to eat, what toothpaste to use, because it's interesting. Everybody, you don't necessarily get the same advice from your doctors,
Mm-hmm.
sharing resources and just like, hey, I'm having a hard time eating this. And she's like, oh, you need to try these enzymes, and they'll let you eat spicy food or greasy food and just little things.
Well, that's interesting. You said toothpaste. So is there a certain type of toothpaste that really aggravates your gums now, or?
They were saying to switch from regular toothpaste to like the Sensodyne or just any of the brands that are for like that are more sensitive, because one of the things is you tend to be drier on
Mm-hmm.
the medication. Like my scalp, my skin's drier, my mouth is definitely drier. And
Mm-hmm.
so like switching your mouthwash to one that doesn't have so much alcohol in it, or
Mm-hmm.
doing saline rinses.
Mm-hmm. And how much has this actually affected your daily life? Like, can you go outside the same? Can you, travel as much? Can you exercise as much as you like?
I now, and it's hard because there's some definite fatigue with it,
Mm-hmm.
tired. Um, my first oncologist, he was not a fan of working out. He said I could walk and do yoga. And I was like, sir, you don't know me and how active I used to be. But I'd like to get to a point where I want to start lifting weights again consistently. I need to work on some other work life balance, and it's more of a rebalance,
Right.
balancing, age and living with the chronic condition. And so that's something that I definitely need to work on. I can't be out in direct sun like I used to be. And anyone that's known me knows I am a child of the sun. I think from living in Alaska, whew,
Yeah.
that's definitely been one of the hardest. This is the most light skinned I've ever been in my life because I can't be out in the sun. I've got to wear sunscreen, the straw hat.
Mm-hmm.
I used to joke, it's like I became a redhead at 42 because I got to take those precautions. Um, I also learned from the group and then, once you read about the tip and you start thinking about it, um, your body doesn't regulate temperature as well like you used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I this like if I get cold, it takes me a while to warm up. Like I'm going to be cold for a while, and then I think I'm more prone to like heat sickness and heat stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So yet to try, back east humidity or anything since
That's
I've
interesting that you say that because thyroid cancer survivors have, a very similar issue. Like, how much I play tennis. And when I get really hot now, I mean, it feels like it's coming up through my hair, my ears. It's horrible. It's like, what is going on here? And, your thyroid helps with the maintenance of your temperature and your metabolism. So when you don't have one and you're taking, a synthetic drug to replace it, then it's not giving you everything that you used to get. So you're right. My hands and stuff will get really, really cold. I'm sitting here like, why can't I warm up? And then when I get real, real hot, it takes a whole lot to cool me down. So experiencing the same kind of thing.
oh yeah, I've put on weight. I'm like 175 now, probably the most I've ever weighed. But in the beginning phase, I got pretty little.
Mm-hmm.
Folks that that saw me on a regular basis let me know, like, hey, you're disappearing on us, and it wasn't intentional. It was just happening. Oh, that's right. I didn't have an appetite.
Yeah. So even though you didn't have an appetite after, you started your treatment, did you change what you ate? Like, did you go vegan, vegetarian? No.
I didn't. I felt like your body needs a balance and
Mm-hmm.
everything. I think just knowing that I was battling the anemia and like the low red blood cells,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel comfortable trying to go vegetarian
Mm-hmm.
or like vegan. I just made it to a point to eat better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Try to have, salmon once a week, increase your omega 3s, and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, put berries in my shake for my antioxidants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't drink alcohol, I think, for like the first year. And I do now in moderation, but I know it definitely does not agree with my stomach like it used to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of the things I noticed too is my stomach is totally different. But probiotics help.
Mm-hmm.
And before I started doing the probiotics, I would do the enzymes every now and then if I knew I was gonna, have something greasy or somewhat spicy.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
it's
did they
it's like
tell you that you would have gastrointestinal issues, with taking this medication, or is it more related to the CML?
it's the medication. They told me, or I read somewhere, and maybe he told me too. You got to cut down on spicy foods, greasy food. And I want to say for the first couple months, I didn't notice anything, and then as you get further along, it's like, oh, well, that didn't agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I've got a better handle on the stomach situation. I would say that's the probiotics. And
Mm-hmm.
I beginning I was trying to like, oh, buy kombucha and have a little bit every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get to a point where it's like, okay, I need a little bit more help than doing this natural remedy. So, okay, here's the probiotics. And then, just figuring out a strain or a dosage that works for you.
Okay, so you did, try some like vitamins and other natural like holistic things.
Yeah, in balance. Like I I feel like I wanted, and I did see a naturopath in the beginning, not to like avoid traditional treatment, but to just make sure, like, am I taking care of my organs? Because at the end of the day, your medication is an extra level of stress
Right.
to your kidneys and your liver. And so that's the place where I was coming from
Hmm.
with trying to do the extra things. My hair started coming out, I think that August.
Mhm.
So, after being on your meds. So no more relaxer. And I was on the relaxer for years. The creamy crack, as this ladies call it. Um, so I've been doing the protective styling with for 2 years now, and we've got some good growth under there. Um, my texture is different, but at the same time, I was on the creamy crack for so long, I don't even think I knew my real texture. But I would say the density is different from what I remember when I was young
Mhm.
with having hair at length. And it's that's hard, because there's some stuff to age, there's some stuff to medication, and just that combo.
Mhm. So
And
I'm curious, what really, helped you get to this side of it? Because like you look like you're at peace with it. You're not sitting around saying, I don't know what's going to happen, in the future. You're just pushing forward and you seem so positive and so happy. So how did you get to that point?
okay, it's a goofy story. It was in the first couple of weeks. I can't remember if I was on medicine at that point or not. And I'm laying on the couch. I got to go into work. I was the athletic director at the time, and I had to go host a cross country meet. And
Hmm.
it was beautiful outside. Sun was out. It was crisp. Like if I was still running, it was like the perfect weather to
Mm-hmm.
go run. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to look up what the leukemia awareness color is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's orange. And orange is my favorite color. And it sounds so silly, but like that was my sign. I was like, I could do this, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I armed myself with information
Mm-hmm.
about the same time that I found that CML group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to learn as much as I could. And it was just, you're going to fight it. And then I think cancer gives you a second set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's another set of eyes and it's another birthday.
Right.
It, you just look at things differently. And I think a lot of people worry about things that you can't control. And as soon as you get a diagnosis that you can't control, I think that's the gift of a diagnosis sometimes is if you were somebody that used to worry a lot, you don't. Because in the scope of things, what is this?
Right.
And the little things in it. And it made it hard during COVID because a lot of people were complaining about a lot of things. And then, here you are carrying whatever you carry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just got to fix your face
Mm-hmm.
and just feel serious.
Yep.
But you just kind of dust your shoulder off
Keep going.
and go on. But I think I stopped caring about a lot of stuff that I think I used to put too much energy in.
Okay, I got you. Look, me too. Because once I realized, you can keep living after, because this is my second time having cancer. So it's like, you know, it's so much other stuff that I could be worried about. But it's like, why? Why? You just got to live and keep moving, keep going. So yes, we are on the same page with that one.
I
So
know,
I'm
but
sorry.
I miss having like the energy to just say
Mhm.
like, "Ooh, I'm gonna knock out all my chores in 3 hours and like done." Like that is girl, that is not a thing anymore. You got so many.
You
I
know
don't
what?
know.
That's funny.
Do you,
Because
do
I got up today and I said, okay, I know I probably shouldn't be doing all this stuff. I want to clean up. I want to do something, I want to do that. So I got a pile of clothes downstairs. They're sitting there wanting to get into the washing machine. I took all the cleaning supplies to the bathroom. I put stuff where it needs to go in order, to help me do it. But it's just like, where's the energy to do it? So yeah, I'm right there with you.
yes. So that I think that battle is real.
Yes, it is. It is. So how often do you have to go back for checkups?
So I have labs every 3 months. So I've got some labs coming up around the 15th. I'll look at my app
Mm-hmm.
and see what the reminder is. And so um how they do it is I go in, they take about 3 vials of blood.
Mm-hmm.
They do like a regular panel, and then one vial has to go to a specialty lab, and that's they check for the mutation to
Mm-hmm.
see if it's detectable.
Mm-hmm.
So last time I was undetectable for the first time in January, and
It's
I
great.
hope, that is awesome. I hope I'm detectable next month, or wait, this month because it's April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also learned it is common to dip in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is me just like being real with it
Mm-hmm.
and try to have, anxiety about appointments. And I know I used to experience that the first year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I go in, I do labs, and then the BCR number, that's that one that checks my mutation. I don't get that number back for like 5 days to a week.
Mm-hmm.
Usually 5 days, it'll pop up on the app.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they weigh me, take your vitals. And they ask if I've got any, new symptoms. They check me for swelling,
Mm-hmm.
edema,
Mm-hmm.
like extra liquid in your limbs, and they listen to my heart and lungs because fluid on your heart and lungs is
It's bad.
um so yeah, that's our usual.
So did you talk to anyone? Like, did you go see any counselors or anything like that? Or did you just have such a, I know you said you had a great support group, but, and you had the folks, on Facebook and everything, but did you ever see like a counselor just to talk to them about what you had going
I
on?
I didn't see a counselor. It was funny. At one point I had lunch or dinner with my old neighbors and their two retired social workers, and girl, don't you know they did their analysis.
Okay.
But they told me that they felt that I was in a good place. So I think that is the closest that I've had to um, a mental health screening. Shout out to Billy and Charlene. But no, I appreciate them, and I think I just kind of worked through it in my own way. It might not be the best way, but it worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I did end up meeting somebody else with CML, and we hung out for a while, and so that was cool, just getting to like meet an actual person and like hear their diagnosis story
Mm-hmm.
and um their experiences, and just that people are on different medications, and you know everybody has different side effects, and we're all kind of different, but we're there.
Good. And I have one other question. Well, actually, two. How did it affect you, or should I say, did it affect you, financially? Because I remember you said they made you sign that huge stack of documents.
So my insurance is awesome, and I think a lot goes back to the changes they made to insurance during the Obama registrate or administration.
Mm-hmm.
My insurance covered everything. I got a scare, was it last summer? Something, my insurance used to pick up my medicine immediately, the cost of it. But then I think it was August, we were doing the refill on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and they said it was going to be like $5,000. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
like
My
this
heart
is
starts
my
breaking
plan. I
down.
need it.
I was like, let me call you back, so that I'm calling the insurance company and I'm on hold and, doing all the calls. And then basically it turned out that there was some change to my insurance where I needed to do the copay assist program with the pharmaceutical company. And once you do that, then the insurance kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
So once I did that, it went right back to zero. But
That's
it's insane to think that like there's a medication that you need that without it, like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, 3 to 5 years or you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, but no, it's picked up. It goes through a specialty pharmacy, so you can't just go to Walgreens and get it. It's not like that. Um, so they call me once a month, or I call them, and we set up the schedule, and they send it FedEx.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to sign. They just leave it at your front door, and I was like,
You look up, you see somebody's dog running away with it in his mouth.
girl. In the beginning, I used to text my neighbor. I'm like, girl, are you home? I'm like, can you grab my medication? Because I was like, what if somebody steals my package?
Right. You
Never.
know what it is.
I better knock on some wood. Um, we've never had to go down that path. But no, insurance is amazing. I'm fortunate to have good insurance with my job. Um, but I feel for people that don't. I know Mark Cuban has his pharmacy
Mm-hmm.
and carry the first generation drug for like $12 a month.
Wow.
Uh, but I'm on a second generation drug, whatever that means. Well, it's the next generation, and there's newer ones coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But for my first oncologist, he told me we're gonna put you on the second generation drug. I'm on Sprycel, and we're gonna, see how you respond. And my number started dropping immediately. And he's like, so you can handle the dose. And so I've been on 100 milligrams every single night. Take it at 9 o'clock. Text my friend Rena, cheers, when she takes her tamoxifen, and
Mm-hmm.
we keep each other straight. Um, but so yeah, that part I was definitely fortunate about.
Okay. So say today I call you up and I say, D, I have been diagnosed with CML. What would you tell me? How would you help me get through it?
How would I help you get through it? I would definitely tell you. to read the book about the Philadelphia chromosome.
Mm-hmm.
I would say make sure you take care of yourself, make sure that you eat, get your rest, listen to your body. Don't feel bad when you have to rest because that's just how it is, and you are entitled to the emotional roller coaster that you're going to have. Because I think it's a lot in the beginning, like it's, the treatment doesn't look like other cancers, but at the end of the day, you still get to hear the scary C word.
Mm-hmm.
And
It,
it's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
and it's, it's not for anyone to discredit your experience. And blood cancer looks different than tumorous cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have phases instead of stages.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I learned where people are trying to help you in the beginning, but sometimes they could be overbearing.
Mm-hmm.
To realize people project whatever their cancer experience is with a loved one on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn through people trying to help you sometimes, like, oh, dang, they were like a hospice type person for someone in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And, they might be treating you like you're dying, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was eye opening as I was, learning to navigate the help. And so one thing that I did is I made that private Facebook group
Yes.
because it was overwhelming in the beginning where like everybody wants to check in on you and you're just trying to brush your teeth and get ready for work. You know, but
Look at the bathroom.
you got 10 messages like, how are you feeling? How are
Yep.
you doing? And like I found that overwhelming for me.
That's
And so
I slowed down. At first I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
I made the group so I could just like put it out there. But it's hard. My mom's not on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still got to give hers, individually. But that helped reduce the traffic. And now, and like if people want to cook for you, take it. And they want to drop off food, take it. Because that's less time that you're on your feet. Um, but that would be part of my advice is create your support group, whether it's family and or friends. And, DoorDash, you could do that for other people,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not trying to cook. Um, but no, I had awesome friends that were, helpful with their suggestions. Sometimes it's too much. Like, I don't think I need all that, but you never know.
All right.
And there's a lot
Where's
of tears in the beginning, and it's okay to cry. And you learn who you can cry with and who you're like, ooh, let me slow down.
Okay. Is there anyone that you want to shout out while you're on the show? Anyone you want to, send any special love to before we get off the podcast?
Oh, Rena, girl, you have been there for me. And Sue, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And just everyone. I feel bad because I'm going to forget folks, but no, my family, my mom, my sister, my hairdresser, Charlisa. I told her before I told my mom.
Uh-oh.
Out there. Um, we had to have a plan for the journey.
That's true. That's true.
And she's here. But you just, I don't know, you got to make your group.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
And I forgot if I didn't say it
Okay.
earlier. People need to do their screenings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't put it off. And I know my stuff was caught in a routine physical with routine blood work, and especially people with insurance. There's no reason not to do your regular checkups.
That's so true.
You have options if stuff's caught early.
That's very true.
And so that has been my biggest takeaway and my biggest like advice to anybody. Don't put off your blood work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put off whatever scopy you're trying to put off or mammogram. Like, go get it. No, we all don't like doing them, but they're there for a reason.
That's right.
And if stuff runs in your family, this isn't genetic, then you've got that responsibility to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got you got kids and a family. That's not my situation, but make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of them.
Very good advice. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out to sit with me on Embracing the Fight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. This concludes episode 64, Old Man's Cancer. I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.
All right, my PSA that I totally forgot. A couple of other changes. I cannot have grapefruit and I can't have pomegranate. And so one of my new normals was that I have to read ingredients of stuff. And so, not plug in or shaming Beachbody, but I used to do their shakes for years. And it turned out it had pomegranate in it. And it competes with an enzyme in my liver with how my medicine's processed. So no more of that. I think one of my new takeaways of this year is making sure that whether it's the dentist, the eye doctor, or some different type of doctor, like your diagnosis isn't just a side note, like it's your reality. It could impact your treatment plan because of your side effects. I feel like my teeth are different these days because of my medicine. And so we were having issues with me getting my crown, but it's all good. It's in there now. But just making sure that they know about your condition and they do a little bit of research before you come in the door. Like, it's not a side note, like, hey, here's my nickname and this is what I want to be called. Like, no, this is what I'm going through and it does impact me. And this is the name of my oncologist if you need to get in touch with them. I think that's important as somebody with a chronic condition.